Hanging on a thin rope, the girl felt the wind caressing her face, while the mountain peaks disappeared into the clouds. She opened her eyes and looked around. Her heart skipped a beat. There was no one around, just her and the majestic mountains rising towards the sky. This girl was a solo climber, accustomed to solo ascents, but she had never been in such solitude before. But now was not the time to panic. It was time for action. First, she needed to figure out how she ended up in this situation. She remembered how yesterday she embarked on her new adventure climbing one of the highest mountains in the region. On her way up, she encountered various obstacles, swift streams, icy rocks, and barren slopes. But her experience and skill allowed her to overcome all difficulties. She was so absorbed in the ascent that she didn't even notice it getting dark. When she decided to take a short break to set up camp, she found herself on the edge of a cliff. Going back down was impossible, and she couldn't continue climbing in the dark. Now she realized that her main goal was to find a way down to the ground and find shelter, because a night in the mountains could be deadly cold, and without protection from the weather, the chances of survival were extremely slim. The girl began to survey the surrounding area, looking for any signs that would help her descend. She discovered that the rope she was hanging on was tied to a sturdy protrusion on the rock. That was the first step. She needed to devise a plan on how to use this rope to reach a safer place. First, she decided to check the condition of the rope. She had to make sure it wasn't broken or damaged. She carefully examined every inch of the rope, running her hand along it, feeling every knot and seam. The rope looked strong and reliable, but the girl knew she needed to be cautious and attentive to avoid accidents. The next step was to find the optimal descent route. The girl bent her head down and looked at the slopes below her. There, at the bottom, she saw several rocks and ledges that could be used as footholds. But the path to them was not easy. She had to descend to the lower rope and start descending. The girl made a decision. She began to slowly lower the rope to reach the lower point. It was a tense time because any mistake could lead to a dangerous fall. But her experience and training had prepared her for this moment. She focused, controlling every movement, every knot. Soon she reached the lower point and cautiously sat on the rock, resting from the strain on her arms and legs. Now that she was at a lower height, the girl could better assess her situation and look for a way forward. She decided to move along the mountain slope, sticking to the stone ledges and protrusions. As she descended on the rope, Lena opened her eyes and realized she was alone at the top of the mountain. Without her team, without memories of climbing partners, she faced reality. She was a lone climber. Around her were only rocks, snow, and unpredictable nature. Lena's heart beat faster as she realized that her life depended only on her. She gathered all her knowledge and survival experience to face this challenge. Her top priority was to find shelter and a source of drinking water. Surveying the surroundings, Lena discovered a gorge where she could find protection from the wind and cold. Using the rope and metal hooks, she created a primitive camp that became her temporary home. Then she set out to search for water, inspecting the rocks for springs or melted snow. At night, Lena warmed herself by the fire, which she lit using a lighter from her climbing gear. She listened to the sounds of the night, battling feelings of loneliness and fear of the unknown. The next morning, with optimism and determination, Lena continued her fight for survival. She knew the path to rescue would be difficult and dangerous, but her will to live was unshakable.